NutraCast.
We had to produce more product in a week than we had produced in a year. So we partnered with an organization who has helped fund us and provide the infrastructure for operations and sales. If we had not done that, there's no way we could have attempted to do this large of a scale with the world's largest retailer. So we were lucky. I think early on, I had the idea that we needed to partner with someone like this. And it was right before we got the Walmart opportunity. And so I guess you could say that we were visionary in that as well, because we realized that, we had a big opportunity because the category is so big.
Welcome to Think Business with Tyler, sharing our methods and strategies for success. Join in on our conversations with business owners as we highlight their triumphs and detail how they overcame the challenges they faced while continuing to grow and scale their business. It's time to think life, think success, and think business with your host, Tyler Martin.
What if getting laid off was the best thing that ever happened to you? That's exactly what happened to today's guest, Llance Kezner. One unexpected career shakeup led him and his wife to take a huge leap, creating a brand in a new product category in the food industry. Fast forward, and their sipping broth is now stocked in nearly 3,000 stores, including Walmart and Sam's Club. But this just wasn't a lucky break. Llance shares how he turned setbacks into strategy, scaled a multi-million-dollar brand, and carved out a niche where no one else was looking. If you're serious about growing a business, you'll want to hear this one. And hey, before we dive in, if you're in home services or the trades, check out my new podcast, Profit and Grit with Tyler, where I talk with industry pros and insiders about scaling and running a profitable business. Now, let's get into today's episode. Hey, Llance, welcome to the Think Business with Tyler podcast show. How you doing?
I'm fine. Thank you, Tyler, for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I'm really excited to talk with you today. I would love to start with learning what you do for a living. What do you do professionally?
Well, my wife and I make soup. We make broth for a living, which we never expected to be doing, especially after getting a degree from the University of Washington in political science. But yeah, that's what we do.
Yeah, that's those are opposite ends of the world, political science and sipping broth. But we'll get to that because you've got a great story. The second question I'd love to start out with is, how about something about you personally that you can share?
After college, I became an adventure tour guide and used to take people all over North America on adventure tours. So I early on built a kind of a desire for hiking and, crazy, adventure tour types of things. And I'm an avid skier and biker. And yeah, so that's, something not a lot of people know about me.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit, not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
And I'm an avid skier and biker. And yeah, so that's, something not a lot of people know about me.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so I want to start is understanding how you started this whole journey of owning your own business. Can you start with the story? Like, how do you get to being a soup maker?
Yeah, so my path kind of came from a layoff in 2009 when the economy went down. So I was working as an executive for a software company here in the Pacific Northwest, and what my wife and I decided after the layoff was that we needed to take control of our own destinies a little bit. And, with a job, you're at the whim of the employer, really. I mean, you think you have control, but you don't. And so what we decided was that we wanted to do something that was beneficial to both of our kind of innovative spirits and our creative spirits, and that was to go into the food business. We didn't have any experience in it at all. And so we started with a product that we used to cook with, that we made and kept in our kitchen. And that's basically how it started.
So have you ever done a business before, or was this your first one?
We kind of dabbled in the past with different ideas. And what we would do is, create something, put it out. And that's kind of where we learned the idea of the minimum viable product, which is basically get something in front of people as quickly as possible to see whether they will buy it. So we'd always tried that, but this is really what kind of made it big for us.
Got it. So your product now is a sipping broth, and you've got various flavors of it. How did you, it kind of has a twist to it too. Do you want to share what the twist is? So it's not like or at least the time I think that you created it, you probably were the first on the market with this concept.
Yeah. So basically, if you think about hot beverages, there's certain categories. There's coffee, tea, cider, cocoa. And there was nothing savory when we came up with this idea. And now there is. And the hot beverage market is massive. But the twist on this came from a need that Lori had, which was my wife. She was a teacher, and she used to take a bouillon cube with her to school to have in between classes because she didn't want to go in and eat all the leftover snacks and cakes and cookies that the teachers would bring, and leave in the break room. And so she used to bring a bouillon cube to have as a savory, something savory. And so I told her, let's make something healthier for you, because the bouillon cube is filled with sodium. There's all kinds of really bad stuff in there. So I made something, dehydrated vegetables and seasoning, put it in a cup, and she goes, it tastes really good, but it's floating all over the place. Put it in a tea bag. So what we did is we ripped open Lipton tea bags in our kitchen, took this concoction, put it in there, stapled them back together, made about 10 of them. She took them to the break room, and they were gone when she came back from class. And we looked at each other and thought, oh, this could be really, really big. And so, yeah, we're putting broth in tea bags. That's the twist.
And are you doing anything in particular that makes them healthier ingredients, or are they organic, or anything that stands out to people in terms of being healthier than, like you said, like a bouillon cube?
Yeah. So it's all real ingredients. So we're using real dehydrated vegetables, seasonings, herbs. So the reason why it's in the tea bag is because if you took all those and you put them into hot water, there would be chunks of carrots and, things floating around. And the reason why we keep it in the tea bag is so you're just drinking the broth and you're not worried about the other stuff. And it's all vegan, gluten-free. So the benefit of what we're doing is that it's like making a fresh cup of broth right in front of you.
Yeah, that's cool. Now, do you see, normally when you think of soup, you think kind of seasonality, when it's cold, more people are going to buy it. Is this a little bit more resistant to cold weather because people are using it more for dietary presence, or what are you finding in terms of your sales data?
Well, it's interesting, people always kind of say, oh, well, we designed it for this and that kind of thing. We really didn't know what was going to happen with this idea. And we look like geniuses now, but
yeah.
But a lot of people, early on, and again, this, we got this from trying to get it to people as quickly as possible. They use it to incorporate in their daily wellness routines. So the cold weather, right now there's snow here in Seattle. It definitely plays a factor, right? So you're going to seek out something warm and nutritious tasting, but people drink it during the rest of the year to go along with their keto or their intermittent fasting programs or Weight Watchers. We were discovered by Weight Watchers because it's a 0 point snack. And so we were very lucky that, it kind of, I wouldn't say it's resistant to a seasonality, but it definitely is. It's not like eating popsicles in the middle of February.
So, Llance, I know you guys started this whole venture, or at some point you did Kickstarter. What I'd like to know, what was your experience going down the Kickstarter platform? And then what maybe can we learn from your own experience in doing that?
So we did the Kickstarter, I think it was pretty early in the platform's existence. We had heard about the benefit of getting the capital, but it was also about the exposure, really. And so we set a pretty low threshold. I think it was like $1,500 or something like that to raise. And because our business was not really too capital intensive, we were very focused on outsourcing all of our production. And so it wasn't like we were buying equipment or anything like that. So, getting accepted in the platform was, a little bit challenging. I mean, they don't accept everybody. And I don't know what it's like now, but this was a while ago. So back then they were being pretty selective about, the type of projects they were accepting. So that was one thing. Going through the process though, I think we got funded really quickly. I think it was within like a couple of weeks or something like that. And it was just this crazy idea, we're talking about something that nobody's ever seen before, right? And I got to hand it to the people who funded us that, they were very trusting, and we sent them products, right away as soon as we got it. And I think we still actually have some of those early customers still continue to buy from us now.
Wow. Was there a takeaway from that? I know the platform's probably changed a little bit since then, but was it a good platform to start there? Would you have done that over? What were some learning experiences from it?
I would definitely do it again, because the assumption we made about getting some exposure, was correct. I mean, I had gotten several phone calls from casting agents for, money raising programs that we all know. I can't say the name, but they discovered you there. Some buyers discovered us there too. So it's not just about the funding necessarily. I think that, it goes beyond that, and people do look, they still look at that platform as an early indicator for certain market segments. I would caution anyone that if you're not ready to take on a competitor right away, that you shouldn't do it, because that's the first place I would go if I was a competitor looking for something, to find new ideas. So, it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. So just kind of switching gears here a little bit, it's funny, you guys were talking about, maybe we want to do something in the food category. And then all of a sudden you're establishing something that is a new product to the market. I mean, you're establishing a new category almost, or you are. What did you kind of learn from that? Like, I mean, obviously your timing was perfect. And once again, I'll call you a visionary as opposed to luck. But what did you learn? I mean, when you look back on it, you go, man, that was crazy? Or do you go, yeah, we kind of could see that there was, just by the initial reaction, there was opportunity here?
I think the benefit that we had is that we didn't really have experience in the consumer packaged goods arena. And that did two things for us. One of them was we didn't know what we didn't know, which meant that we weren't afraid of what was coming around the corner. And so that was good, because we just kept going, and we continue to keep going. We don't really consider ourselves experts in that, even though we've been doing this now for 10 years. The downside was, we did make mistakes that we probably could have avoided for someone who was more experienced. But I think that allowed us, because we have created a whole new category where we're combining tea and broth together. It provides some advantages. We are not, like in the retail environment, we're considered a marginal product, a marginal revenue product, which is we're not replacing any products, which means all of the revenue that we generate for the retailer is in addition to whatever they would normally generate. So when they bring us into a category, like the soup category or the broth category, we're not replacing any of the other items that are there. So that gives us an advantage. But The downside is that not every retailer is willing to do that. So we had to build our direct to consumer business before we could really go out to retailers and confidently tell them, you're going to make money with this. So that's been kind of it still is a little bit of an issue, even though we're now in close to 3,000 locations with our product. It still is something that needs to be proven on a daily basis.
Wow, that's a crazy number, 3,000. Now, you started your golden ticket, if you will, was Walmart, right? That was like your first big entry to the market. What was that like when Walmart says? I mean, is that like validation times 1,000 when they say, "Yeah, we'll put you on our store shelves"?
When I think there were various levels of realization that we were not only being able, we were being invited by the world's largest retailer to pitch our product to them. We didn't realize that we were in very rare air because at the time they had something called the Walmart Open Call. And the Walmart Open Call basically is looking for American-made products that could be sold in Walmart. So they do this every year. And we did this back in 2023. So 7,000 products were proposed. They chose to invite 800 to meet with, 400 of them on campus, 400 of them virtually. They invited us to come on campus. And they gave us that day a golden ticket, meaning a deal on the spot. Now, we had to keep it quiet for a year until we actually got onto the shelf. And, at each stage, we were, basically kind of going, wow, this is really amazing. And, the buyer was really put a lot of trust in us. And we were able to get our product into all of the stores that they wanted, almost 1,900 stores. Our in-stock rates are above average. And, so those things really, I think either you rise to the occasion or you don't. And those are make or break opportunities that kind of get you up to a certain point. And then you kind of level set from there. And I think that's how we've really approached like all of these opportunities. And we just recently went live in Sam's Club, nearly 3/4 of the Sam's Clubs. And it was the same idea, right? So it's really mind-boggling that we got the opportunity, but at the same time, it's real. And here you go, you got one shot. And so we've really had to pull our A game on every single thing: product quality, inventory, funding, marketing. I mean, it doesn't stop.
Yeah. My question would be, all of a sudden we're told, hey, we're going to be on 1,900 stores. What's that do from a production standpoint, from a cash flow standpoint? Because now you have to start thinking about, I guess you had a year, so you had time to prepare for it. But I mean, that's a lot of moving parts fast and probably a decent amount of cash outlay. How did you plan or deal with that?
So the opportunity meant that we had to produce more product in a week than we had produced in a year before that.
Wow.
Okay. So again, if you imagine, we started in our kitchen and then grew by going to co-packers that could do this for us, and grew and grew and grew. So we partnered with an organization who has helped fund us and provide the infrastructure for operations and sales. If we had not done that, there's no way we could have attempted to do this large of a scale with the world's largest retailer. So we were lucky. I think early on, I had the idea that we needed to partner with someone like this, and it was right before we got the Walmart opportunity. And so I guess you could say that we were visionary in that as well, because we realized that we had a big opportunity because the category is so big. So we need to be able to scale when it was necessary. So yeah, so making funding available, having operations support, making sure that we could get enough ingredients, because all of the ingredients come from completely different places. It's not like it's not a single ingredient, right? We're some of our products, like our spicy tortilla right here, has 8 different ingredients. I mean, carrots, peppers, whatever, but they all come from different places. So we had to really get our ducks in a row. And luckily, the team from our partner, really provided us infrastructure that, we just didn't have. And I'm part of every single one of those discussions, but the expertise is way beyond what we had.
Wow. Without giving up anything confidential, of course, how do you structure a deal like that? Like, do you have to give them a piece of equity as part of this? Is it profit?
So there definitely is a share of proceeds, right? And it's going to be based on some sort of equity, some sort of future event that may happen in the future. But right now, we're just happy working together and making money from, the opportunities that we have right now. They're in the beverage space and we're totally different. We're kind of in the beverage space, but, a different category. So it's a good mix of the two. But yeah, every deal is different, but ours is really focused on maximizing sales, not doing crazy things on investing in marketing or anything like that. It's all about finding a deal, supplying it, and focusing on making sure that the product is available for people who want to buy it.
If you're a business owner feeling stuck in your business, overwhelmed, responsible for everything that happens, and working long hours, Tyler helps his clients develop processes, hire high-performing team members, and better understand their financial metrics and numbers to allow for a more predictable, less hands-on business. To schedule a free, no-pressure consultation, head to thinktyler.com and click the meeting button. Tyler would love to see if he can help you work on your business, not in your business. Schedule a consultation today at thinktyler.com. Think life, think success, think business.
Este episodio es presentado por Honda. Descubra la nueva Honda Passport Trail Sport todoterreno. La Passport más todoterreno que Honda haya imaginado jamás. Esta Passport cuenta con mayor altura al suelo, barras de techo en todas sus versiones y neumáticas especialmente diseñados para cualquier terreno. Además, disfruta todos tus viajes con el control de clima de 3 zonas, techo panorámico y opciones como asientos delanteros con calefacción y ventilación. Conoce más en honda.com/Passport.
And focusing on making sure that the product is available for people who want to buy it.
Wow. Sounds like a really good partnership. Now, how would you say you allocate your time these days? Is it spent trying to find new relationships, new stores to be in? Is it in research and development in terms of additional flavors or product categories? Like, where do you kind of do your focus now?
So I'd say about 30% of my time is focused on operations, making sure that we're in sync with production, making sure quality is probably the only guiding light for what we're doing. I mean, we don't make any sacrifices for quality. And I mean, we've had to take batches of things and set them aside because they didn't meet a quality standard or something like that. So anyway, that's critical. The other, let's say 30% of my time is spent on marketing opportunities. So awareness, getting people to be aware of our product, where to go buy it. And then the rest of the time is spent on new market development. So in our case, what's beyond retail? Where do we go, next? Because retail is just, one market opportunity, and we now have several others that we're pursuing simultaneously.
Do you envision, like, I noticed now you have multiple different flavors. Do you still have more flavors in the works, or do you envision like kind of having a different tweak to your product? Like, without, obviously, once again, I'm sure you don't want to disclose it, but what do you kind of see this category going to?
Yeah. So we had 7 flavors and we pared it back down to 4. So our top selling items were spicy tortilla, Thai lemongrass, tomato basil, and delight pho. So eventually we'll probably bring back a couple of those that we had already worked on. In fact, some people ask us on a weekly basis, when is the curry one going to come back? That kind of funny thing. So yeah, we'll probably do that. I think, though, most of what we're focused on is the application of our product in the food service business. So imagine if you are on an airline and a beverage cart comes down and they say, would you like coffee, tea, or broth? That would be an amazing new thing for an airline. Or in a company break room, having the ability to have broth in the afternoon instead of a bag of Cheetos, or cafes, coffee shops. So that what we're basically doing is making sure our product fits those kinds of applications, even being in a hospital, right? So having, people patients being able to make a fresh cup of broth, as they're getting their meal delivered. So that's really where we're focused on. And then just making sure that we're servicing the level of retail outlets that we have to the best of our abilities. Because it doesn't serve us well to grow another 3,000 if we can't we can't sustainably support the ones that we have now.
Yeah. So the name of your product is Millie's Sipping Broth. Where did Millie come from? How did that name fit in?
So Millie was my mother-in-law. She was Lori's mom, and we named it after she unfortunately passed before we started the brand, but we named it after her because the idea was comfort food in a broth, right? And we wanted people to have the idea that they were being served some broth from a grandma who was going to take care of you. And, oh, by the way, we've been drinking broth for thousands of years, and that's what people were used to getting. So we figured that was great. We also, she brought us, the family, together around food to, hear our weekly stories and everything like that. So we just thought it was a tribute to her. We'd incorporate our personal family into the product. And we also, that set a precedent for us by being very personal with our connection to our end customers. On every packet, it says, we know you'll like it, Llance and Lori. And people call and they talk to me, so we thought it was really, really important. And we do notice a difference.
That's really cool. What a great way to honor Millie too. That's cool. It gives her like a legacy. So that's a cool way to do it. Now, you started this business. Is it safe to say a little bit later in your career journey, would you say?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty cool. And now you've got this vibrant business that's got a lot of opportunities. Is this way more than you would have expected it to be?
Yeah, I think that, when you start something, you always think, want to make millions right away. Sure. And, the harsh reality is that is very few and far between. There's those guys that, start something and then a year later they're bought for, millions of dollars. In our case, we're going on year 11 with this product, and it's a very slow, gradual build. But if you look, and I'm forced to look back sometimes and think, there's no way we could have handled what we're doing now early on. So, from experience and lessons we've learned along the way in creating the product. This product is a simple idea, but it's extremely difficult to make. Very, very difficult to make. We never knew that up front. And so I think that, everyone says, what would you do differently? And I said, nothing. I would do nothing differently because I would have never learned these things. You wouldn't know, education's not free.
Right. When you say it's difficult to make, is it just because of the sourcing of the ingredients? Is that what makes it so challenging?
No, it's actually the process of making it. We've actually patented various aspects of it because it's so difficult. The equipment that is out there right now is not made for this kind of product. So there are, process things that we have to do differently. We have to treat the ingredients differently. So that gives us an advantage, right? Everyone talks about building a moat around your product. We didn't think about that early on. We just thought, let's just go after this. But inherently in the product, the difficulty of making it has really served us well. And we have really just focused again on that quality and scalability. And so like when we first started our business, the average cost at retail of our product is like, we're like 1/3 of the cost. So we're like 75% less cost.
Wow.
Because of the, improvements in being able to scale and being able to make millions of bags, at a time versus what we were doing before. So, and this all comes with wisdom.
Yeah, for sure. Experience. It's so funny when you talk about like going to millions overnight type of thing. I think I've interviewed well over 200 entrepreneurs. I've probably worked with, if not 1,000, probably close to it. And it's rarely ever that overnight success. It's always all the trial and tribulations, the incremental gains that are baby steps year over year, maybe month over month, whatever it happens to be, until it amounts to something big. But it's all those steps in between that people tend to forget about when they see you get to the top of the hill, which is interesting.
I think Tyler, the important thing to note about those steps is those are the inflection points that help, define what makes you stand out, not only as people, but as the product too, right? Because you're getting, I'll give you a great example. When we first started, our product was called Millie's Savory Teas. And there were two issues. One of them was people, every time they would hear that, they would taste it and go, this isn't tea. And, their mind, they would go, this tastes terrible. This is not tea. The second thing is 6 months after we started, a very large company decided to compete with us. Not only they competed with us, flavor by flavor, they took our exact flavors and competed with us, but they left out one ingredient. And because that's the most difficult ingredient to use in the manufacturing process, it came out so bad that people, whenever we would say our name, they go, oh, I tasted that. And we go, no, you didn't taste ours. So we changed it to Millie's Sipping Broth to get away from that problem. We would have never learned that, if we didn't encounter that or if we weren't listening to what the customers were saying.
Yeah. See, that's what gets me excited when I talk to people like you is these pivots, these changes. It's so easy to just quit sometimes. Like it would be easy. It would probably, when that big competitor came in, it would have been very easy to go, oh man, we're going to get stomped. Let's forget about it. But instead, you guys looked for ways to create some uniqueness and to brand differentiate. And look at you now. Do you envision at some point there might, or maybe this has already happened, a larger company coming in that maybe wants to have an entry in your product category and already sees you're well along the way and you become kind of a target? Do you think that's a possibility?
I think anything's possible. Our focus right now is just building out the category as much and as fast as we can. It's really speed is really now our focus. We believe that the demand for what we're doing is completely different than if you go into the soup aisle now. You may buy soup every once in a while for cooking. Our broth is made for daily consumption, which just completely changes the frequency of people going into that category. And so we're, just focused on seeing how big we can grow this category and, making as much margin as we possibly can. What comes down the road, maybe we'll partner with, a larger organization that can grow it even faster. That would be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. Okay, well, that's just great stuff. I love everything that you've shared. I love your story. You guys have a really cool story. I'd love to wrap up with two things here. One, in terms of your journey that you've had so far, are there maybe 1, 2, even 3 things that kind of stand out that you've learned along the way that maybe you can share with us and we could apply to our lives or our business?
Yeah, I think that, I get asked sometimes, what would you recommend to people who are starting off on an entrepreneurial journey? And by the way, I don't consider myself an entrepreneur. I consider myself more of a problem solver than anything else. I think that's really important distinction. But the first thing I would say is don't quit your day job. Do not sacrifice your main source of income for an idea, because I'll tell you, I can't, it wasn't until about 5 years ago that both Lori and I still had side gigs where we were, bringing in income to support our family and to support the growth of the business. And don't think that raising money is going to solve the problem either. It's just going to make you have to work harder to please the entity that gave you the money. So make sure that you are setting yourself up for success by having, income that you can count on and getting your product as quickly as you possibly can to somebody who will buy it. And no matter how it looks, don't waste a lot of time. Just get it out as quickly as possible.
Yeah. I see this happen so often, and it's really sad, where people start businesses and they literally have either nothing in savings or very little in savings, and their job that they're leaving is their primary source of income. And it's always kind of a little bit of a head scratcher to me, because the amount of stress it puts them under, even if they do make it, which oftentimes they can't because they run out of cash. But that's that tip in particular is great. It's just, unfortunately, people get so excited about starting something, or they're emotional. It's kind of like buying a car. They get so emotional about it that the logical side gets abandoned.
I think that it's really tempting to say, the will of my idea is just going to take over, and it's going to be wonderful. But the reality is that no matter what you do, you still have, your daily operational expenses, home or business or whatever. And so you really have to plan for whatever you do as being incremental on whatever you've got. And so if you do that and then focus on the pain of doing both, and that will help you make a decision about which one to do next. Right? It's kind of like standing on a ladder on your roof, right? When do you let go to get on the roof versus, getting off the ladder? And that timing it's very tempting to make it go earlier, but that's really probably the most valuable lesson that we've learned.
Does cash flow have you down? Profit not where you think it should be? Maybe it's the long hours. Let's meet to see if I can help. I bridge driving the financial performance of your business to hit growth and success targets. Book a complimentary meeting at meetforgrowth.com to get started now. Once again, that's meetforgrowth.com. I look forward to talking with you. And thanks for listening to the show.
It's very tempting to make it go earlier, but that's really probably the most valuable lesson that we've learned.
Yeah, very cool. Well, kudos to you and your wife for creating a new product in its own category and dealing with competition and getting into large stores and continuing to get out there. It's a very cool product. I was checking it out on Amazon yesterday, and I guess it explained why some of the flavors are out of stock. You had mentioned some you're no longer selling. So I guess that makes sense why I was like, oh man, this is flying off the shelves. It's all gone. But a couple of the key flavors were there, but like the tomato and basil was out of stock. And I think a couple other ones were. I think the lemongrass was too, actually. So sounds like you're doing really well. This has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you being on the show. Audience, if you'd like to, myself and if the audience would like to go to your website, it's sippingbroth.com. I'll put that in the show notes at thinktyler.com. Once again, that's sippingbroth.com. Now, Llance, if people wanted to reach out to you, anywhere else you'd like them to go, or any other maybe promos or anything you'd want to discuss?
Yeah. So our website, sippingbroth.com. I'm on LinkedIn. You can look it up, Millie Sipping Broth. But I want to give all your listeners a discount of 20% off. So if you go to sippingbroth.com, use the code ThinkTyler, and you'll get automatically 20% off of whatever you buy. And definitely would love to connect with you all.
I just want to use the code because it has my name in it.
Perfect.
That's an awesome promotion. Thanks, Llance. I really appreciate it. Once again, I hope in the future you can come back on. Maybe when you hit whatever that milestone may be, hit your next milestone. It'd be awesome to have another conversation.
Really appreciate it, Tyler. Thank you for the opportunity.
Have a great one.
Thanks.
That's all for this episode of Think Business with Tyler. But we have plenty more resources to help you in your pursuit of business excellence on our website at thinktyler.com. If you'd like to be featured in a future episode of the show, feel free to reach out to us on social media at think_Tyler. We look forward to helping you think life, think success, and think business.
Electricast.